Earlier this year, we had the bombings in Norway, which were carried out by a pro-Israeli, anti-Islamic, ultra-conservative with Freemasonry links. He targeted the Social Democratic Party in Norway, killing many children, and his links to the BNP and EDL and UKIP have also been proved. I've therefore, in my last videos on the subject of ultra conservative terrorism, have said about the need to ban the BNP and UKIP. And also in South Africa, the links between other ultra conservative Thatcherite groups, such as the ultra conservative right of the Conservative Party, with the ANC, and the link between the ANC and the Conservative Party and the Soviet Union to put the ANC into power. The ANC, over the past several decades since they've been in power, since 1994, when Nelson Mandela, a convicted terrorist who blew up a train, became president, and then handed it on to Mbeki and to Julius Malema and Jacob Zuma. 52,000 people have been killed by the ANC every year since that has happened, and it's caused the flight of 1 million white people from South Africa. These are all facts that can be observed and defined. So why am I against these organisations? It's because they use political violence to get their aims, and they're for the extermination of other peoples. Now, although the media has consistently called Andreas Breivik a neo-Nazi, he is not a neo-Nazi. The neo-Nazis are National Socialists. Now, there is a case in Germany where 10 people have been killed by neo-Nazis. The fact is that the ANC is a neo-feudalist and communist and Zulu nationalist coalition of people. What does this have to do with a woman on a tram in Croydon spouting off foul language on the train and accusing and being accusative to other passengers who were black, English and Polish? Well, the fact that she had her child with her and also was using swear words, I find quite offensive. But she was making a definable factual observance that the majority of people on the tram were not English. One English person said to her to stop because she was told that her language was, and her shouting was causing that lady's baby to wake up. But what disturbs me most is the public reaction to what has happened. It was something that is not a major issue in my view, a woman shouting on a tram, and yet the indifference to the political violence of other groups. Now, I'm making an obvious attachment of different subjects to this media coverage, but the woman was filmed, and then that was put onto Twitter, and then it was sent to the British Transport Police. People might not have a problem with that, but the fact is that in Britain, race is a serious issue. And I've stopped a racist attack once when I was on a bus. A boy was kicking his ball about and he was racially abused. Right? A sister who was an adult was also terrified, and I told the people to stop messing around and taking his ball off him, and and being racially abusive. But those people who were doing that who were being racially abusive to a child were not English. They were black, Turkish, and of various different races. A relative of mine was threatened with a knife and racially abused when he told a figure of authority, a teacher, that this had happened. He was accused of being racist because he was English and they were not English. The fact that this woman can now be arrested and possibly have her child taken off of her, and also have her house maybe taken off of her as well, if she lives in social housing, is deeply disturbing. Because although she was foul-mouthed, although she was being perhaps inarticulate even, she was making an observance of the fact that in some areas of Britain, English people are not the majority anymore. And as people I've seen in the comments underneath some of these videos, people are calling for her to have her child taken off of her. They're calling for her to lose her house. The fact that she is also working, she mentioned that and said to a woman who was who was African on the tram, and she replied, "Oh, we'll chuck you off the tram." So that woman was being told that she would receive violence for speaking her mind, right? Although she was being offensive, does offensiveness mean that you can? There is an automatic response that some form of discipline must be imposed through physical violence by other citizens. That, to me, seems what might be a natural response by some people, but it's illogical, right? The fact that she also had a child with her, and he could have suffered physical violence from people who were on the tram, is also something that's disturbing. The problem, especially in Croydon, which is a place that was figured in the riots recently in the summer, about racial tensions between different groups, is not just a black and white issue. What must be understood in the context of racial relations in Britain is that English people are perhaps the only barrier between different rival ethnic factions which have come from the third world from attacking each other. In Birmingham, you have rivals between Bangladeshi, Pakistani and Indian groups, and also between Indian groups of different faiths. In London, the situation is even more complicated. Many black people see Afro-Caribbean people, because of the sus laws of the 1980s, the stop and search, see the police as a white racist organisation. This is also reinforced by the Stephen Lawrence inquiry and the retrial of those men for three different trials. The point I'm trying to make it's not wrong that those guys are being tried for murder of Stephen Lawrence, but they're tried three times over, which is something that is a precedent in law. Fear and racism are making bad law. What we need is not anti-racist legislation in some cases, which is making some woman who perhaps could be ignored for her views by the mainstream media, now possibly being arrested, losing a child, losing a house because she spoke about she was critical of the government.